The sky was the color of old copper as a battered silver shell lay half buried in the meadow. Broken neon vanes hummed against the wind and a small community of elk made camp along the ship's ribs. There was a hush of curiosity and a smell of ozone. "We should map the hull for survivors now," said a voice with a calm ache. "I'll take the eastern ridge," another murmured voice, hands already reaching for a flashlight. "The ship is older than the stories," said a third, tracing a glowing sigil with a fingertip. They moved closer, cautious and curious, and the story moved inward toward them. From the ship's shadow stepped 4 pearl-colored elk who would carry the heart of this story. The eldest, Lyra, had a messenger's satchel and steady gaze. Mako moved with quiet practicality. Juno kept a small field journal. Etten hummed to soothe nervous hooves. "I counted the parts," said Lyra, gentle but certain. "We can jury-rig the antenna with that cable," said Mako, already measuring. Juno smiled, jotting notes. There might be a will or message inside this craft. They clustered like a small, confident team and set off to learn the ship's secrets. They were not alone. From a ridge slipped 3 mint cream elk whose eyes favored sharp advantage. Their leader was cool and persuasive, the others mirrored his smirk. The mint cream trio watched the pearl elk with the air of those who calculate returns. "We keep our distance for now," said their leader, voice like polished glass. "Let them poke the toy first," the second murmured, fingers steepled. "We will take what powers the will grants," whispered the third, eyes bright with plans. The two groups eyed each other across the wreck, tension like static in the air. A single figure arrived in a bright postal vest, bounding across the field with a satchel heavy with stamped envelopes. This was Corin the postman, round-shouldered, earnest, convinced and oddly sure of family ties, and of an unusual will that had been read aloud among the scattered papers inside the craft. "You must be my long-lost cousin," said Corin, breathless and sure. "I delivered your doorstep letters to the stars," he added, offering a wrinkled envelope. "The will named a relative and a condition," said the postman, eyes hopeful and awkward. An odd inheritance lay folded in the crash's paperwork and Corin insisted it mattered. Across the field, the mint cream leader outlined an absurd but cunning scheme. If traffic rules themselves could be twisted, influence would follow. He proposed swapping signals so green meant stop and red meant go, a tiny chaos that could redirect power and trust toward them. "If green means stop, people will never trust the old order," observed the leader, fingers steepled. "They'll come to us for guidance," the second agreed, eyes already mapping intersections. "It begins with a single intersection," said the third, soft as a promise. Their plan felt ridiculous and dangerous in equal measure, a sideways lever on the town's rhythm. Corin's insistence hardened into a conflict. He kept repeating the claim about kinship and the will, convinced it named his bloodline. The pearl-colored elk tried to reassure him, yet his certainty pricked at nerves and loyalties. "You are my cousin, I tell you again," said Corin, voice wobbling but firm. "We hear you," Corin replied, Lyra, warm but careful. "The will is strange, but we will read it together," said Mako, offering steadiness. The conversation became a tether around which the day's choices turned. Small things frayed the edges. A debate about a bowl of cereal became louder than expected. Juno said cereal is crunchy milk soup. Etten defended the sacredness of dry crunch. Mako tried to mediate. The argument surprised even them, and it revealed how small disagreements can widen. "Cereal is literally crunchy milk soup," declared Juno, spoon poised. "That's an insult to grain culture," retorted Etten, offended. "Can we not decide this later?" asked Mako, hands raised in truce. The dialogue bubbled, and the little kettle of tension began to boil. The camp paused for a breath and then, for a moment, the story looked at the audience. A small interlude, a friendly ask that broke the tension and reached outward from their little world. "If you liked this scene, please like and subscribe," invited a soft, offhand voice. "And leave a comment with the word slop," laughed another, trying to sting the mood with a grin. It was a silly respite, a shared wink between the elk and whoever listened. With a tiny laugh and a nudge, they returned to the task at hand. Night came and with it the mint cream elk put their plan into motion. At the main intersection they slipped panels and rewired lights with a small toolbox and a wicked grin. The town's rhythm began to stagger. Now, Watch the confusion begin, said the mint cream leader, low and sure. Once intersections doubt their colors, they'll ask us to lead the way, agreed the second. The switches clicked and a green light glowed like an untrustworthy promise. The town's routine warped as the new signal rules took their first breath. Chaos seeped outward. Drivers puzzled and horns flared. Pedestrians froze at green lights that told them to stop. The pearl-colored elk scrambled to explain while Corin's certainty became a tinderbox for trust. They tried to fix the wiring, but their repairs were clumsy against the deliberate sabotage. We can reroute the signal to manual, shouted Lyra, wrench and hoof. Hold the intersection steady, urged Mako, hands on a tangle of wires. Corin watched, torn between vindication and worry. I'm only trying to help, he whispered. Their attempt slowed the damage but did not stop it. The town's confidence was cracking. They tried to reason with Corin and with the townsfolk about the will, but words tangled like vines. The reading of that strange document became a bone to pick. The mint cream elk stepped up in the public eye, offering clarity in exchange for obedience, and the pearls found their voices slipping. You must trust what I delivered, said Corin, voice now thin with appeal. We will read the will aloud, promised Lyra, turning the page with reverence. The mint cream leader smiled in the background and offered guidance like honey. Every attempt to settle the claim pulled at loyalties until the ground felt unsteady. Tension broke into tragedy on a rocky path when their mentor, the wise elder who had guided them since they first found the craft, faltered. Mid-journey he collapsed, breath leaving like a sigh of old maps, and the group felt its center give way. In that gap the mint cream leader stepped forward and seized momentum. He can't be gone now, whispered Lyra, crouching at the elder's side. Hold him, please hold him, begged Mako, voice cracking. The mint cream leader saw the opening and moved into authority like a shadow slipping into sun. Grief and opportunism braided together as the story reached a sharp, unforgiving apex. The group staggered under grief but still needed to act. In a busy market lane, unnoticed by the elk, a human Italian pizza chef tossed dough high in the air from his open cart, a blur of motion and flour that no one commented on. It was the moment they discovered a surprising clue. The mint cream leader had a peculiar reaction to a single word. Try the sound check, someone suggested, eyes narrowed in a new way. Zebra, said a small voice, experimental and sharp. The leader's face slackened, a wave of dizziness crossing his features before he steadied himself. No one had expected such an odd fragility. It felt like a key turned in a hidden lock. They tested it carefully. Simple syllables led to that dizzy falter. The word became a small weapon of mercy. Juno whispered it like a bell, and the mint cream leader stumbled, giving the pearls a slim window to act. Collaboration and timing mattered more than brute force. Now, whispered Juno, the word again. Zebra, said the group softly in unison, careful as a spell. The mint cream leader swayed, clutching an arm, and for a breath he was unmoored. They moved with gentle swiftness to disarm the sabotage and gather the town's trust back. With the mint cream leader disoriented, the community moved as one. They rewired the lights back, read the will with care, and confronted the softer betrayals that had ripened into control. The mint cream trio could not keep their composure in the face of collective steadiness and compassion. We will restore the lights and the trust, said Lyra, resolute. Return the will's reading to the town, agreed Mako, steady hands working. Without the cover of confusion, the mint cream leader retreated, shaken and exposed. It was cooperation and clear intention, not force, that undid their plan. At last the will was read aloud in full, not a document of extraction but an unusual request from a traveler who had loved community more than bloodlines. Corin's insistence had been sincere but misapplied. The text named those who would care for the town's stories, not a single inheritor with a key to power. So the will asks not for heirs but for keepers, read Lyra, voice clear. I thought family meant blood, Corin admitted, voice small but honest. Then be our keeper of letters and stories, suggested Juno, an offered place, not a throne. They folded the old paper into a new promise, stewardship instead of dominion. They returned to small things refreshed. The cereal debate settled into good-natured tradition, bowls were shared, spoons dipped, and laughter returned. The question of whether cereal was crunchy milk soup became a light rivalry, not a wedge between friends. The town's rhythm found its pulse again. "So is it soup or is it not?" asked Etten, grinning as he poured milk. "It's both and it's ours," replied Juno, offering a spoon across the bowl. They ate together, the argument now a comfortable ritual rather than a crisis. In small reconciliations, the community rebuilt its bonds and its ordinary joys. Corin found his place. He did not become an overlord of inheritance, but he became the keeper of stories and letters, delivering both news and tenderness. The town agreed to honor the will by protecting memory and helping neighbors, a different kind of inheritance. "I will deliver stories to every door," said Corin, with new softness. "We will keep the will's promise," said Lyra, smiling. The postman became a gentle stitch in the town's tapestry, and his insistence became a joined cause. They had solved the puzzle not by crowning one voice but by listening to all. The meadow with the crashed craft fell quiet in a way that felt grown into place. The pearl-colored elk had changed, grief, collaboration, and resolve had softened and strengthened them. Their little debates were now shared rituals, their losses were honored with community days. Life returned, altered but resilient. "We will plant a tree for the elder," said Mako, voice steady and gentle. "And hold a breakfast for story keepers," added Juno, spoon tapping the bowl. Lyra looked at the ship and then at the town, content and watchful. They had returned to ordinary days, carrying lessons like warm stones in their pockets. A simple promise closed the tale: they would keep stories safe and squabble about cereal with kindness. The town had been shaken, and they had been tested, yet the scaffolding of community held firm. The story paused there, a satisfied breath shared between friends and listeners. "We will guard stories and hold breakfasts," agreed the group, voices light with warmth. "And if anyone asks about cereal, we will answer with a bowl and a laugh," said Etten. Corin tied his satchel and waved, the keeper of letters content to wander his lanes. They walked back into their days, stitched together by the small acts that mattered most. A closing note: this tale included playful bits of slop, strange quirks, and odd words that moved events. To be transparent and mindful, all slop in this story were generated using AI. It is a straightforward acknowledgement of how these pieces came together, offered now so the listener knows the origin of the odd little flourishes. "This is an acknowledgement, not a boast," said the narrator, calm and plain. "We value the story and its community above the tools that helped shape," a few lines added gently. "Thank you for listening," closed the voice, warm and honest. And with that, the field and the town settled, leaving room for new stories to grow.